So now let's talk a little bit about what I'm going to do once I'm actually out on the water. First thing I'm going to do is immediately I'm going to those areas, that I pinpointed on my map, and I'm going to start kind of systematically going through those. And I'm going to start with some of the baits that I have rigged up that are going to cover a little bit more water a little bit quicker, so I can kind of get off to a quick start and see if I can't get a few quick bites. Things like the crankbaits, spinner baits, as well as some of those top waters, like top water walking baits, like a Zara Spook or a Lucky Craft Sammy, something like that. Those types of baits can cover water real quick. And so I'll start off with a few of those, maybe like the Alabama rig, stuff like that, to see if I can't get a few quick bites. As well as, while I've got those baits, while I'm throwing those baits, I want to make sure that I've got kind of a target bait. I call them target baits, rigged up and ready to, that I can just pick up and start flipping. Like that Texas rig beaver that I had talked about. So as I'm fishing, fast with these reaction baits and stuff, if I come across a particular piece of cover that looks, really good, like if there's a laydown or like a stump or something like that, I can hurry up and pick up that Texas rig beaver, make 2, 3, 4 pitches at it real quick, just to see if I can get a quick bite off it, and then I can put it down and then pick up the reaction bait again and go back to covering water. One of my other philosophies that I use with my bait selections as I'm starting the day is I also work from top to bottom. So I kind of go from fast to slow and from top to bottom in the water column. And so some of the baits I start off with are top water baits. See if I can't get a top water bite first. If I suspect there's going to be a top water bite, sometimes I'm not even going to bother throwing a top water bait. But if I think there'll be a top water bite, I'll start there, start working my way down to spinner baits and like lipless crankbaits, stuff like that, stuff in the middle of the water column, swim jigs maybe, swim baits, stuff like that. And if that stuff still hasn't produced, that's when I start moving down towards the bottom. Some of those deep diving crankbaits, Carolina rigs, Texas rigs, jigs, all that sort of stuff. And so that's kind of the process that I use as I'm narrowing down my bait selection and start figuring that stuff out. The other thing that I do while I'm out there on the water is I make sure to pay attention to clues that both the fish give me and that the situation around me, Mother Nature, if you will, some of the clues that Mother Nature will give you. For instance, when it comes to the fish, you want to pay attention to those clues. When you get bit, you want to pay attention to, first of all, what they bit. You want to pay attention to how you were fishing your bait, were you fishing it fast, slow, on the bottom, top, whatever. Pay attention to those different things. You can get some clues about how they bit. Was it a really subtle bite? Was it a very aggressive bite? Some of those things can clue you in on kind of how you can narrow down your bait selection. For instance, I remember one time I was fishing and I was catching a few fish on Senkos here and there. This was in Utah, fishing for smallmouth, and caught a few fish on Senkos. But I noticed I started having quite a few big smallmouths that were chasing my Senko back to the boat when I was reeling it in at a quick pace. And I had fish chase it all the way up to the boat and swipe at it at the boat while I was reeling it in. So what I started doing, after I had a couple fish do that, I started working that Senko really fast, a little bit more like a jerkbait, and I started nailing fish. So clues like that, can kind of clue you in on how you need to be fishing your bait a little bit. Also clues from Mother Nature, like herons. If you notice blue herons, along the shoreline on points, that bait fish are kind of concentrated around the points. It's pretty amazing how often you can notice those patterns with those herons. Sometimes they'll be on the points, and sometimes they'll be in the backs of pockets and the backs of creeks. And you can get a good idea of where the bait fish are at by watching those herons. Another good thing to pay attention for, like crawdads. If you happen to find a crawdad along the shoreline or something like that, look at the colors of the crawdad. You can match the hatch, that sort of thing. There's so many different clues that Mother Nature can give you in order to start cluing in on how to narrow down your bait selection. So basically, that's pretty much it. That's the process that I take in order to find fish while I'm on any given body of water. Like I said, whether it's a new lake that I'm fishing or whether it's a lake that I fished many times. I try to keep my ideas fresh, you know, and I try not to get stuck into a routine if I've been fishing a certain lake a lot. Yeah, you want to rely on some of the knowledge that you've gained about that body of water, but sometimes that can hurt you too. Sometimes you kind of have to pretend like you've never fished the lake before. So hopefully this helps everyone out on their next fishing trip. I hope y'all catch a big one. If you need any more help, you can feel free to contact me on Facebook or anything like that. I'm more than happy to answer any questions y'all have got about finding fish. And hopefully y'all catch a big one. Good luck.